Let's explore meditation and labeling, the cure for insanity guaranteed. This evening's lesson is drawn. Whoopsie, let's get rid of these notational marks. This evening's lesson is drawn from the need to sort things out or I'm going crazy, a good-hearted meditator's question on Reddit. The individual wrote, so I need to ask this question of someone who has actually been meditating for a long time and knows what they are talking about. And so it doesn't take Lieutenant Columbo to read between the lines and see that the person asking this question has been beset with people who had more opinions than they had expertise. Let's continue. The individual writes, I've always thought that observing thoughts is a great way to manage anxiety. Noticing a thought in the mind, observing it, not analyzing it, but just accept it as a thought and then return to the present. But recently I've been doing some research and heard from people that observing thoughts is not good. So I'm going to go back. There's a bunch of meat here to tear through. A lot of meat on the rib, said the vegan, but to its great dismay. But I gotta say, man, the first of the 7 enlightenment factors is mindfulness. If mindfulness is not noticing what you perceive or emote or intend or reason or recall or imagine, then what is it? Let's continue. Some even said that it can be dangerous in the long run. It can make you go crazy if you don't have a guided master that can help you. That is just the thing. If you are disguising yourself as a great master who charges fees, who wants either money or prestige or perhaps both. I guess this is because emotions that are attached to these thoughts, energy, can fuel these thoughts. If you just observe them, it can lead you to going crazy. Nope, that's not how it works. Let's continue. Instead, they claim to find the source of the thoughts, which is something the Buddha never taught, unless these people know much more than he. So these people sound like they could be described by the yin attributes. Whoopsie. No. Oh, no. They sound like they can be described by the yang attributes of being rigid, fearful, controlling, cryptic, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. So the person writing this note continues, I'm new to meditating. This makes me pretty anxious because whenever I observe my thoughts, I feel like I'm doing everything wrong all of a sudden. How is this supposed to deal with anxiety thoughts? How is one supposed to deal with anxious thoughts arising? Someone said ignore them, but that sounds like pushing them away to me. So ignoring anything is not mindfulness, and pushing away, that's just diversion. Please help me because spiritual gods like Eckhart Tolle made me get into meditation, and observing thoughts is a huge part of his education. Is this true, or can someone enlighten me on this thing? I'm going nuts thinking it's not good to observe my thoughts anymore. How do you even find the source of thoughts, and why is that necessary when you can just observe, accept, smile to the thoughts, and let them run and be present while returning to your anchor point, breath in my case? I appreciate if someone who actually has knowledge answered this. Because I've read everywhere, observing thoughts is good, and after my recent discovery, I am confused and angry. And understandably so. So, I have been studying and practicing and reverse engineering meditation for a full-time job for more than 30 years. And so this is what I found. We're going to discuss mindfulness, meditation, how they relate, and how to practice them. We're going to, so way back when the Buddha walked the earth, that was called the Iron Age. Right now we are living in the Silicon Age. We have wondrous imaging technology that have furthered our understanding of neuroscience and have taught us that every time we breathe in, whether we know it or not, we are accessing our sympathetic nervous system, ensconced not within the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears, but instead within the spinal cord, specifically in the thoracic region. That's the part that corresponds with our rib cage. So this sympathetic nervous system did not evolve to indulge either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. Instead, we simply evolved to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. It could be said that vulnerability is the price we pay to practice mindfulness. And that's probably why this meditational archetype is depicted as naked. So yes, while we are practicing mindfulness, we can spontaneously notice all manner of things. Sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We could also notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We could notice the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and even the grotesque. The question that presents itself is, what are we to do with those things? And the answer, in a word, is meditation. But how does that work? Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we access our parasympathetic nervous system. It too is in the spinal cord, but this time in the lower lumbar region, as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. And it has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now, you probably remember that a few moments ago I told you that this sympathetic nervous system did not evolve to support active concentration. So this presents a problem, or at least a question. If our job is not to actively concentrate upon our breath, then what are we to do with our breath? And the answer is quite simple. We treat our breath the way a piano student treats a metronome. When we notice our body is breathing in, we could silently and mentally recite the words, "Notice this." When we notice our body breathing out, we can silently and mentally recite the words, "relaxing." So during each inhalation, remember, you're not only noticing vulnerably, passively, and viscerally, we're noticing randomly. I'm reminded, way back when I was in university, in Psych 101, there was a wonderful comic strip titled "The Stream of Consciousness of a Puppy." And it went like this. What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? Oh, gotta pee. What's this? And that's basically what we're doing in meditation. Everything is this. Whether we like it or not, whether it's pleasurable or not, whether it's remotely related to meditation or not, we don't control the situation. We breathe automatically and we notice automatically. We exhale automatically. And when we do so, we relax automatically and release automatically. Does that mean that which we noticed immediately goes away? No, it doesn't. But the liberation the Buddha offers us is not the liberation from the presence of the yucky stuff, but from the tyranny of the yucky stuff. So the yucky stuff controls our choices and our utterances and our deeds less and less and less. And furthermore, the more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the less we are controlled by our visceral, instinctual resistance to the presence of things we hate and to the absence of things we desire. That doesn't mean that those things are immediately adjusted. It just means we get more and more comfortable with the way that things really are. So now let's go back and kind of look at this list right here. It's simple. We can observe whatever goes on. And if we feel resistance, we can observe that resistance. Never force a smile. Forcing a smile does more harm than good. Yes, there was a very prominent teacher who scurried about the countryside for many decades telling people to smile. But I've lived with his nuns and monks at his monastery, and they were not doing well. I went there many years ago because I wanted to find people who were experts and who had mastered the path, and who I could just sit back and leave the driving to Hertz and let these guys just take care of my spiritual development. And when I got there, I found fools and monsters. So psychology studies have shown that when you force ourselves to smile, we increase the probability of experiencing the symptoms of depression. So when we sit there and say, I'm going to smile at this thought. Now, I'm not talking about it happening involuntarily. I'm talking about when it happens deliberately. It's part of a plan. When we do that, it's a form of trying to remedy. But here's a radical teaching from Vajra, one of the first reformers in Buddhism. An emotion is just an emotion, whether it is joy or whether it is sorrow, whether it is peace or whether it is rage. An emotion is just an emotion. It's neither good nor bad, it simply is. So it's not, our emotions don't need fixing. You might say, but I don't want to be controlled by emotions. Fine. Notice your emotion as you breathe in. Relax into the present moment, whether it is glorious or grotesque or interesting or boring, as you breathe out. And you will be less and less controlled by our inner Darth Vader. There is no anchor point to return to. We do see the whole idea of an anchor point is just another way of saying something I'm concentrating on. Because if what you're trying to do is practice concentration, let me go back to a pretty picture. When we practice concentration or contemplation, our blood collects in this tissue at the bottom of our brain, or at least the bottom of our limbic system, known as the amygdala. And this amygdala is the seat of both anxiety and aggression. So here's the great irony. We want to be peaceful, but by practicing concentration and contemplation, we increase our anxiety and aggression. That kind of sucks. Now it gets even more ironic. Some people say, well, I'm noticing anxiety and aggression. Maybe I need to contemplate love. And so they contemplate love, and they concentrate on love, and they just feed that amygdala. To err is human, but to refuse to learn from our mistakes is 6 kinds of stupid. And I've known people, nuns and monks, people who dress just like me, who refuse to learn from their mistakes. They're just so entrenched in dogma that they won't question their assumptions or the assumptions of their teachers, which is just tragic. But I've got good news for you. When we replace our concentration with the mindfulness that relies on our sympathetic nervous system, when we replace our contemplation with a meditation that relies on our parasympathetic nervous system, our blood shifts from our fearful amygdala to a hunk of meat known as the anterior cingulate gyrus. It's just a few centimeters behind our forehead, and it functions as if it was the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. Now, we're still going to feel the full spectrum of emotions, the pleasurable and the painful, the glorious and the grotesque, and all points in between. But our primary mode is going to be more empathetic than anxious. And I think you would agree that that's a good thing. So there is no anchor point. We notice on autopilot. We relax on autopilot. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The 3-pound supercomputer between our ears can sometimes act like an enthusiastic child who, in the name of helping mother or father, does more harm than good, unless they're given a very specific yet simple task. You know, like hold the flashlight steady, or help me, stir the batter. So here's another version of that. We give our brain a simple tool. Hey, brain, during the inhalation, silently and mentally recite, notice this. And, oh yeah, by the way, brain, during the exhalation, please silently and mentally recite, relaxing. When we give our brain, a task, it begins to cease to oppose our autonomic nervous system and instead cooperate with it. And this is the magic of mindfulness and meditation. This love, that is, it has been said that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived, and this love that is the spontaneous byproduct of mindfulness and meditation is said to be a beautifying factor, and the reason why this archetype of meditation is described or depicted as beautiful. Let's take it a step further. Here's a really cool way that mindfulness and meditation can guide us. When we look at the female here, sporting in tantric union, she appears to be very, very active in her enjoyment of tantra. This reminds us that spontaneity trumps contrivance. When we look at our partner, he too appears to be enjoying tantric union, but in a very passive way. This reminds us that not all spontaneity is equal, and that centered spontaneity trumps scattered spontaneity. Centered spontaneity is the natural byproduct of mindfulness and meditation. when our choices and our utterances and our deeds flow from love's effortless effort of centered spontaneity, our life can become much more peaceful and much more blissful. And now I look forward to formally practicing with you, chanting and meditating and the like. We shall start after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, it has been my full-time job to study and practice, master, and reverse engineer the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. The contemporary practice of Dzogchen contains 3 categories of practice: bliss and letting go, awareness and letting go, as well as love and letting go. Green heroin is less of an entity to be worshipped and supplicated and more of an archetype to remind us that we already possess the neurological architecture to not only practice the Buddha's path, but to master it easily and quickly. For this evening's first exercise, let us use chanting to stimulate the neural pathways responsible for both empathy as well as enthusiasm. To do this, we're going to use 2 recitations. The first one is rather literal, and we're setting it to a quasi-triplet chant. Please join me. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, by relying on thee, Buddha's example, instructions, and students. The second version of this recitation is both more concise and also more figurative, and we're setting it to a bookend chant, and we're preparing to recite it for 3 repetitions. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the 3 jewels. Do you have to bow down before an image of the Buddha? No, but I think it can be fun exercise. And the way I do it is by practicing 3 variations of geriatric step back squat thrusts. Let us continue chanting in a way that feeds our enthusiasm and empathy. Together. May all master letting go in love as well as kind communication, conduct, and calmness. May all master the effortless effort of love-centered spontaneity as well as mindfulness and meditation. That, my friends, is the entirety of the Buddhist path. Now that we've exercised our empathy and our enthusiasm, let's rest the mind. As we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. And as we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. Let us contemplate the iconography of this archetype of enlightened activity. We're going to practice bliss and letting go, which is also known as Anu Yoga, Bindu Mahamudra, and Tikle, channels, winds, and drops, together. I and all living beings as extensive as space have had our crowns of white lotus and moon seed. And let us meditate some more, switching from the 12-syllable format to the 3-syllable format. As we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite sitting tall. Thus reminding our bodies to generate a vertical traction between our tush and our head. During our exhalation, let's silently and mentally recite the verb relaxing. Let us continue contemplating the iconography of the archetype. Upon this lotus and moonseed from Tama rises the archetype green Tata. Her body is comprised of green light. She has 2 hands and 1 face. Her right hand resting on her knee is in the giving mudra. Her left hand is at her heart. Her left hand is at her heart with the ring finger and thumb pressed together, holding the stem of the blue bala flower which blossoms at her left ear. We return to the 3-syllable exercise that I introduced to you during the lesson. As we inhale, we silently and mentally recite, notice this. And as we exhale, we silently and mentally recite, relaxing. Let us continue. She is peacefully smiling and fully matured, adorned with all the precious garments and ornaments. Her left foot is tucked in and her right foot is slightly extended, in preparation for the inevitability of death. On top of her head appears the Nirmanakaya form of Amitabha. This brings us to our 1-syllable exercise. As we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, and as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the 1-syllable verb is. Having climbed to contemplative cruising altitude together as a team, let us meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo. What if the greatest offering we could make to our teacher was merely to apply his instructions about the conventional truth of awareness and the ultimate truth of release? Let us try to practice this in the next 6 exercises. Let's offer solar plex wisdom, thoughts lucid yet as not graspable as a void. Om Shamatara Dharme Bhati Sohum Soha. Whom let's offer heart wisdom, feeling sensual yet as non graspable as a void. Om Shamatara Parshe Bhati Sohum Soha. Tram let's offer navel wisdom, taste flavorful yet as non graspable as a void. Om Shamatara Rase Pati Sohum Soha. Three let's offer thread wisdom, sounds resounding yet as non-graspable as a void. Om Shamatara Vini Pati Sohum Soha. Let's offer womb wisdom, sense fragrant yet as non-graspable as a void. Om Shamatara Gande Pati Sohum Soha. Let's offer crown wisdom, sights appearing yet as non-graspable as a void. Om Shamatara Adarshe Pati Sohum Soha. And now let's rest the mind. Let us bring the experience of the 4 bases of mindfulness into the conventional path of love and letting go, where love is emphasized. Those who tread that path of Devadatta squander time and energy with contrivances of visualization, emotion, magic, and belief. Upon this path of the Buddha, we simply recite these words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. May all minds of all beings now be as peacefully wise as the mind of a real Lord. Imagine Buddha symbolized by a clay, one syllable seed or bija mantra. May all relationships of all beings now be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's communication symbolized by this 10-syllable mantra. May all bodies of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddhist art, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined deva or yidam and archetype of enlightenment such as Green Tara. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or vati. Let us view letting go through a physiological lens, bringing the experience of the 4 bases of mindfulness into the ultimate path of love and letting go, where it is letting go that is emphasized. Those who tread the path of Devadatta, caught in the thrall of rigidity, confuse metaphors for literal statements. Upon this path of the Buddha, we relax into flexibility, savoring the chance that explain these metaphors as similes. As we inhale, our circumstances or thoughts could appear quite vivid. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as not graspable of what is a real or imagined paradise or vati of light. As we inhale, our bodies or forms could feel quite sensual. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as not graspable of what is a real or imagined archetype or yidam of light. As we inhale, the interpersonal experience of communication or speech could sound quite resounding. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel as not graspable of what is a real or imagined mantra of light. As we inhale, we could notice all minds, perceptions, emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings quite clearly. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as not graspable of what is a real or imagined bija seed syllable of light. If you struggle with chronic anxiety, and of course under the care of a licensed psychologist, you might find it helpful once every 12 hours or so to perform these chants and these meditations and see if it can help you to cope to a greater degree. Now let us view letting go through a philosophical lens, as we bring the illusion of the horizontal duality of us and them into the dance of impermanence and interdependence, known as Madhyamaka's yoga of inconceivability. Also, it comes down to our lots could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this body or form. All bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this communication or speech. All interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this mind. All minds could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into our vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although tantalizing to the eye could be not graspable to the hand. Let us chant the Dharani explaining this mantra's meaning. O Mamajadara, swift and courageous, you drive away all fears with Tutare's meditation. Heroine fulfilling all aims with Turi's mindfulness, that's with the syllable, so may it be so. for the remainder of this evening's live stream. Let us bring the spontaneous play of mind into the path of awareness and letting go, which is known by many names, such as Dzogchen's Great Completion Stage, Sutra Mahamudra, Ati Yoga, and Trekcho's Slice Through the Tyranny of the duality of dread and desire. Oh, excuse me. So this is how to make the most of mantra meditation. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite this italicized statement, relaxing into this. This, of course, as I mentioned earlier, refers to whatever we spontaneously experience in the present moment. Whatever we experience vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Be it a sight, a sound, a sensation, a flavor, a scent, or the like. Be it an emotion, an intention, a thought, a memory, or an imagining. Whether it is external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. During our exhalation, let us physically relax as best we can while we strive to chant these 10 syllables 4 times per breath. Om Dare Dare Suwa 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 Om Dhare 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 Suwa. Om Dhare 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 Suwa 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 Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa. Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa, Om Dare Nare Nure Sowa. Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva. Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva. Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva. Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva. Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva. By the way, this is an excellent exercise when you're feeling anxious. Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva. Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva. Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva. Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva, Om Dhani Dhani Dhuri Suva. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, 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 Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re Suwa, Om Dare Du Dare Du Re So Wa. 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 Om Dare Du Dare. So let's see here. Welcome aboard, Chris. Chris writes, Lama, how to remove guilt from the grieving process. They seem to intertwine. This relates to pets departing too soon. Thanks. You're welcome. Okay. So I'm going to explore this in two parts. First, so we're going to explore this remarkably in a deeply pragmatic manner. As we breathe in, please silently and mentally recite relaxing into this. And of course, this is a demonstrative pronoun, and it refers to whatever we notice, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. We might notice grief, we might notice rage, we might notice self-loathing. The only label we need to use is this. This process of noticing vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly is already hardwired into our sympathetic nervous system. We do not need to force it. During our exhalation, let us physically relax as best we can, while striving to chant these 10 syllables 4 times per breath. And then you'll notice that you're able to viscerally process whatever comes up. Let's work with this for several minutes and see how it plays out. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re So Wa. 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 The easiest way to silently train in mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. Similarly, the easiest way to train in meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. We're using ease here as a synonym of relax. The moment you have a specific question about anything that we're doing, the chanting, the meditation, the philosophy, do not be shy. Simply type your question in great detail, and I will be elated to explore the answer with you. And if I have created more obfuscation than clarity, let me know, and I'll happily take another swing at it. Om Dare Du Dare Du Re So Wa. 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 Together, May all minds be as wise as Buddhas, may all speech be as loving as mantras. May all forms be as healthy as Tara, and may all lots be as fortunate as Pure Lands. May every meditation teacher truly understand the Buddha's teachings. And practice master as well as instruct them generously, loving and wisely in the manner of centered spontaneity. May whole meditation teachers spontaneously receive generous patrons, enthusiastic students, as well as devoted apprentices. And may many Dharma centers likewise be successfully planted, nurtured, and supported. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10.5 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.